when I first started my business, I was doing everything wrong. Now I've worked out everything through the school of hard knocks. I figured out how to make sure my business runs well. At first, my business didn't run well because I didn't know how to run it. Even though I had other people doing the work, it still was not good. But because I set up systems, because I have the right people, because I have the business set up properly, it runs so smoothly. And that just took time and learning.
Are you a corporate escapee and wasting valuable time attempting to figure challenges out on your own? Well, this podcast is for you. We bring you firsthand experiences of guests going through many of the struggles you face each and every day. We get real with no corporate BS. And now, over to your host, Paul Higgins.
Hello and welcome to Corporate Escapees. Our guest today is someone who had a real entrepreneurial upbringing, but he did work until he was 37. He tried different models, lots of different businesses until he hit the jackpot. Now he works 1 hour a month. That's right, 1 hour a month. This is a must listen. Now what I'll do is hand you over to Dustin Heiner from Master Passive Income. Welcome, Dustin Heiner from Master Passive Income to the Build, Live, Give show. We're going to get to know lots about you today, Dustin, but firstly, welcome.
Thanks, Paul. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. So first question is, what's something your family or friends would know about you, Dustin, that we wouldn't?
Let's see. So there are two big things that a lot of people would know about me if they see my Facebook feed or my friends. They know that I love to travel, and I love to travel with my family. And here's a huge, amazing thing about not having a job is you don't have to ask for a holiday time or vacation time. You don't have to make sure your boss is okay. And so this last year, we took a 6-week trip all through Europe. We went through 11 different countries. My 4 kids and my wife and myself, we went through 11 different countries all through Europe, and it was a 6-week trip. It was fantastic. And the year before that, in 2017, we took a 6-week trip in Japan. Took my dad, my 4 kids, and my wife and myself, and drove all over Japan, like the entire country. So I absolutely love to travel. Like that's my favorite thing to do. That's where like my money goes. Like I don't buy fancy cars, even though I have plenty of money. I don't buy fancy homes, even though I have plenty of money. I love to travel. My family, we love having experiences together.
That's brilliant. And look, you're reaching a chord with me. I love it as well. Unfortunately, I can't travel at the moment. I'm just about to have a kidney transplant, which once that is over, one of the key things I want that is to be back traveling again. But you talk about 4 kids. What age do they range?
10, I'm counting down, 10, 9, 7, and just turned 6.
Wow. Well, you're a brave man. We waited until mine were 16 and 14. We went 8 weeks to Europe, and
wow,
that was 2 years ago now. So I love it. And once again, wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't have left corporate. And that sort of leads us to, what's your corporate escapee story? I know you quit at 37, but I'd love to hear, how you came to that and what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a goal from the very beginning. Actually, ever since I was young, I had my stepdad and my biological dad. Loved them both. They were both entrepreneurial minded, and so that's really how I got a sense that there is a way to work on your own and not have somebody telling you what to do and all that sort of stuff. So I had a paper route where I delivered newspapers when I was like 13 years old. I've had a number of business, everything from a graphic and website design company to manufacturing skateboards to a retail establishment that I built from scratch and sold it later. And so this was all a means, and I had a couple other businesses in between there, but this was all a means to eventually not have a job. Like I knew that my personality was the type that, and how I wanted. I just didn't like having people tell me what to do, especially when I thought I knew how to do it better. I was always a good employee. I always got raises. They always, gave me good remarks on my reviews and everything. I just felt like I could do it better if I was doing it on my own. Plus, I wanted to get paid for the value that I brought, not the hour that I put in. I want to get paid basically passively. And so my corporate escape plan was I started so many different types of businesses, and it turns out the easiest one was the absolute best one to have started. And the easiest one was investing in real estate rental properties, not just real estate, like flipping a property where you buy a house, fix it up, and sell it. That's not investing, in my opinion. That's you're flipping a house. It's basically a job, because if you don't flip your next house, you don't get money. And there are things like wholesaling, where you find a buyer, you find a seller, put them together, and you make money. That's not really investing, that's working. But investing, I park my money in a house and I make money 6 different ways. Everything from cash flow every single month, to appreciation, to equity capture. When I buy the house, I'll buy it cheaper because I'm an investor. I pay cash and I get lower prices. I get tax incentive, not really incentives, but tax breaks. And I have forced appreciation by fixing it. There's so many great things about rental properties, but the biggest one to escape my job was the passive income. And so I shoot for $250 every single month in my pocket from a property. So if you have $250 a month coming in your pocket, and you have 10 properties, well, that's $2,500 for US, $2,500 in your pocket. Well, if you have 20 properties, that's $5,000. And I knew I only needed $5,000 to quit my job. So I got to 20 properties and I thought, I have enough money. Like, I've replaced my income. I can now quit my job. And it took me a couple more years, because it's really hard. It's like, the comfort and safety of having a paycheck coming in. It took 2 more years, but eventually I thought, you know what? I'm wasting my life here. Number one. Number two, I'm losing money. Even though I was making $73,000, $74,000 a year with my job, I was still losing money because of spending my time at my job when I could be working on my business. And so I made a plan, and it took me, I was 27 years old when I made the goal. My ultimate goal was to quit my job, and I did everything I could. And real estate was what really stuck and was the best one. And it's an automatic business that I don't even touch, because my property managers do all the work. But in 9 years, I built up my business where I think I had 32 properties or something like that, and bringing in loads and loads of money every single month. And I was able to quit my job, and I will never work a job again. And everything that I do now is just for fun, because I'm a driven person. So I just like doing things to help people and make my life better.
Great. Well, you talked about you tried lots of things, and then real estate ended up being the easiest and the first thing you did. Just sort of take us through that mental model of, how do you make those choices? Because I know for a lot of people sitting here at the moment listening, that they think, I really want to leave, but I just don't know what to do. I've got so many options. I don't know how to do it. So how did you narrow that down?
That's honestly, that is a really, really good question. I didn't think about that being a way to explain why I went there. And really what it came down to was, you would kind of say, or it'd be like an example of trial and error, or what was really hard to do and not making very much money, and what was really easy to do and making me loads and loads of money. And so I'll give you an example, like my retail establishment. I think it was like a 2,500 square foot facility, and I was, selling things, and it was going well. So we started in 2007 before the market crashed, and then 2008, 2009, the economy, everything went bad, and so my business started not doing so well. And I realized how much work it was to have employees, how much work it was to, keep inventory up, worrying about customers, worrying about marketing, all that sort of stuff. And so I eventually sold the business because it was just so much work. And in the meantime, I just started this is what happened, like the time frame. I just started my business. It literally had the doors open for maybe a month, and I started buying investment properties, or I bought one rental property. So I bought that one rental property, and I realized how little work I was doing on my rental property, because it's an automatic business, meaning I have other people doing the work. They're contractors, so they want to do it. It's not like an hourly wage employee. So I have a property manager, contractors, realtors, roofers, plumbers. I have inspectors. I have everybody do the work, and I just reap all the benefits. Like, I literally work 1 hour a month, and that's just looking over the statements that I get from my property managers. Now, when I do that, I really realize, man, this is so much easier than running a business. And so even my manufacturing business, you have to worry about all the inventory. You have to worry about sales, and you have to worry about production. It's just so much work. Now, I'm not saying those are bad at all. I just found, for me, I really liked traveling. I really liked going fishing. I really like just doing whatever I want, rather than having something that I had to babysit or I had to oversee. And real estate is by far, for me, the absolute best way to quit. When I quit my job, to never have to have work again, because it's passive income. It's where I don't work. I do the work once, where I buy a property. It takes me 2 or 3 hours to buy the property. Then I release my property manager to do all the work for me. So that's the process, is trial and error, and figuring out which one is the best bang for my buck and which makes me the most money in passive income.
Great. And along the journey, who gave you help along the journey?
Well, I'm really, let's see, stubborn is a good word. And so and me being an entrepreneur too, I have, it's kind of like there's an old song from a movie a long time ago. And it basically goes, anything you can do, I can do better than you. And I have that mentality. Being an entrepreneur, we kind of get those mentalities like, if you didn't succeed, it was probably there's a reason. So I can probably do it. And so when I started in real estate, I literally did everything on my own. I read a couple books, and I just thought, you know what, it's got to be easy. Well, it's easy once you know the right things to do. Now that I've done it so much, after losing tens of thousands of dollars, like tens, $20,000 to $30,000, because of not running my business right, either not collecting money right, not evicting people when I need to, basically not running it like a business. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have that much help, but I did have support from my wife, who was fantastic. She was very hesitant at first, but as soon as she started seeing the money come in, she was really supportive. And obviously she didn't want to, or she's the type of lady that's saying, we don't want to grow too fast. Try not to grow too fast where we get in over a head. There was one time I actually did get a little bit, but I was able to work my way out of it. Being an entrepreneur, there's problems. Entrepreneurs solve those problems, and that's one that I had to do. But so I made so many mistakes. I wish I would have had somebody like me saying, hey, don't do this because this is going to screw up and you're going to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, look, and, I'm exactly the same, So when I left, I thought I've figured out corporate, I can figure out this small business thing. And I took a couple of coaches, but I just didn't listen anywhere near as much as I should. So if you're just about to leave, or if you've just left, please get a mentor, get a coach, and just make that path a whole lot easier, like Dustin recommends. So the next is sort of the build section, Dustin, and a play on words, I suppose, given you're in the real estate game. But when you walk into a party or someone says, "Hey, Dustin, what do you do?" How do you best explain that?
Easily say that I'm an investor. Now, here's another thing that I will tell anybody who is going to be an entrepreneur, or somebody's going to be leaving the corporate world and they're going to be going on their own. Number one, don't go on your own. You want to have a team of people, not necessarily employees, but you want to have other people. Like, don't think you're alone. Even people in your own space. Like I teach real estate too. And the other people that teach real estate, like, I don't look at them as competition. I look at them as helping and working together. So when you're going alone, you want to have other people. So what I do, and this is my tip that I would give to everybody, is I look at myself. Even before I bought my first property, I told myself in my mind, Dustin, you're an investor. You're an investor with a side job, not working at this company with a side business doing investing. No, what I tell people is what I am. My job doesn't define me, and not everybody that's listening. Your job does not define you. What defines you is you defining who you are and how you relate it to people. So I would always tell my people, I'm an investor. And what was interesting is, as I was building my business, and the more people I told that I was an investor, the more opportunities came, because people realized, hey, this guy is somebody that could actually get things done. Like, he's an investor. Let me go to him. And now I have so many people trying to basically give me properties to buy, really good deals. And I have my pick and choose. I can pick and choose because people know who I am, because I've always presented myself as an investor. So everybody listening, if you have a business, if you are still working a job, you have a side job that just pays your bills. You are who you are as your business, and your company, and what you're trying to do. You define that for yourself.
Great distinction. And about investing, what do you know about investing that few others do?
I don't think I have any insights other than I am horrible at stocks. Like, I literally am probably the worst person. So I'm really good at buying low and selling high, which is the opposite. I'm really good at buying high and selling low. So I lose lots and lots of money in the stock market. I'm just really, really bad. But when it comes to buying real estate, it's really so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's very, very simple, because it moves very slow. Real estate moves very, very slowly. And what I found was that, and here's a quote that Dale Carnegie, his author, really rich guy back in, I think in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, I can't remember.
30s,
Yeah. He said that 90% of all millionaires were created through real estate. And when I read that quote, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Maybe I should learn something about that. And so here's what, I'll give everybody one tip. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier. one tip about investing, I would say, I literally cashed out all of my money out of the stock market, out of the like mutual funds and investing, retirement investing accounts. I cashed all that out because I make so much money in my rental properties that any fees or penalties were completely offset. Like I make so much more money in 1 year to pay off those fees. So what I would say is the thing that I know that would help a lot of people not have problems when they invest in real estate is you're investing for cash flow, not for appreciation. If you're buying a rental property, you don't buy for appreciation. That's like icing on the cake. If you get appreciation, that's fantastic. Good for you. But what we invest for as real estate rental property investors is we invest for cash flow. And so here's the tip. If anybody listening, if you shoot for, and this is US dollars, so whoever's listening, try to equate it to your own dollars or, currency, $250 or a month or more in your pocket every single month. That's after expenses. If you make $250 a month coming in your pocket, all the surprise things that might come up or evictions or anything like that, that'll all be taken care of, and you will not lose money. Now there might be some huge things like the house burns down, but you got insurance for that. So that's my tip, and that's something that I know that I have to help a lot of people understand. You need to have enough money. Like $100 isn't enough. $250 is where you want to be.
Great. And, I think you said you've acquired up to, 34 properties now. What will your business look like in 3 years' time?
Fantastic question. So now I am buying multifamily or apartment complexes, and there's a fancy word, but it's called syndication. And syndication is basically where I would be, or I am, the active investor, where I find the property, the large real estate, apartment complex that's like $2 to $5 million or more. And I have passive investors that basically we create a company, they're part of the company, whatever money they put in, percentage to the whole, that's how much equity they get. And I get some money, or I get some percentage just for doing the work, plus I'm putting money in. Anyways, I'm buying rental properties that are multifamily, 20, 30, 40 units. And so I'm branching out from single family homes. It's like if you ever played the game Monopoly, you buy land first, then you get a house on it, you get a couple houses, then you move to hotels and you get more hotels. And I'm just slowly building my way up. So hopefully in 3 years, I'll have at least double or triple the amount of properties, because exponentially growing through apartment complexes.
Great. And what are the complexities of, multi-family versus single? What are the things that you most need to take care of in that switch? So a huge benefit is you have more doors, basically more units that pay you rent. So if one's vacant, you still have other ones fitting the bill. So that's a huge bonus. There's so many other huge benefits. Another big one I'll say is it's looked at as a business. It's not a property, it's as a business. And so however much money it comes in from that property, that's what the business is worth. Now, the things that you have to look out for with apartment complexes versus single family homes, with a single family home, you can get away with having a small property manager managing the property, or you can manage it yourself. When you get into a bigger complex where it's 20 or more units, you need to really have a managing company, like a property management company that is overseeing the property, because there's a lot more expenses that come in. You need to make sure that's properly managed and managed well. Anybody could manage a single family home, just make sure the tenant's happy, the one tenant's happy, the furnace works and the water heater and all that stuff works. But when it comes to multifamily and apartment complex, there are stairs you got to worry about. There's boilers, there's multiple units of ACs, there's just so many more moving parts, but it way outweighs, or it's so much better in the income column that it outweighs any issues. And that's why you hire property managers. And also what the great thing is, you pad that into your expense, like all the property manager fees in single family homes and multifamily. Your tenants are paying for that. You're not paying for it. And so when I say $250 a month, that's after you pay up somebody to manage the property for you, after the tenant makes the principal payment, the interest payment, the taxes, and everything. Great. And your team, who's in your team and how big is it?
So right now, I don't have any employees, but I have many property managers, many contractors. I don't really have a number. Maybe you can try to say 20, 30, but it really is basically building a team of different types of people. Like I have maybe in each area of the country in America that I invest, I think I invest in like 3 or 4 different areas right now. No, 4 different areas right now. I have different contractors in different ones, different property managers, different. And so basically anywhere that I go, I start the process of building a business of a team around me. Now, I know that you're in Australia and you more than likely have listeners all over the world. In my podcast, I get people from all over the world listening to me. And what was interesting is I got so many questions from people from like Canada, even Pakistan. I've even had some people in, I want to say, I think a couple in Australia just asked me questions, will this apply in my country? And I actually said, you know what? Absolutely. Now, the principles are the same. Investing in real estate, the principles are the same. And on my website, I have an article, 2 different articles. There's part 1 and part 2. There's 20 different principles that I lay out that if you follow these principles, you will make money. Now, there are nuances in different laws, different financing and things like that in each and every single state. Now, when you go through those, you have to figure those on your own because I'm not buying in Australia or any other place right now. Yes. But you can absolutely do all this stuff in every single part of the world, as long as you're allowed to own property and somebody else will want to live in that property.
And, you talked about those 3 to 4 areas. How do you make a decision as to where you invest in the US?
Well, it really comes down to how much I could buy the property for, number one, and how much I could rent it for. So I want as little money coming out of my pocket as possible and as much money coming back in as possible. So give you an example, in America, California is a horrible place to invest because prices are so high, rents are very, very low. So you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money. Basically on West and East Coast, the coastal areas. But in the Midwest, like in the center of the country, prices of homes are still relatively good. They're decent prices. They reflect what a normal home should be. And the rents are pretty good. And so to give you an example, one of my students that I was working with, she's going to buy a property for $30,000 and it's completely fixed up. It's in Michigan, I think, and she's going to get $750 to $800 a month. And if she buys it with $30,000 cash, then that's just $800 a month coming in her pocket. And so there are great places to invest as long as I buy the home as little as possible with as much money coming back in my pocket as possible.
And what's your view on some of the changes with, driverless cars and, where people are going to live? Do you think that will have an impact on where people will live in the future and therefore where to invest?
That's a question that is very similar to another one I got from one of my students. They talked about like migrational shift or people going, moving to the coast and things like that. Well, here's the thing. You might have a little bit of a shrink in the pool of tenants that you might have if somebody moves to a new area or they're losing jobs, which obviously when there's less people having jobs, you have less people having money. Well, here's what's the great thing about like the free market or people being able to figure out new ways to make money. People are going to, if they lose their job, driving, and because they're not driving cars anymore, they're going to figure out another way to make money. But the biggest thing about real estate is people will always need a place to live as long as it's livable in that area. So if you're going to invest in the desert where nobody's going to live, well, I wouldn't, because nobody's going to want to live there. But with people that are living in areas that you would not necessarily want to live, they may be completely fine. Like I have areas that I invest where I really wouldn't care to live there, but people do. And so it really doesn't matter. As long as the world doesn't explode, people will always need a place to live. And I will be there to give them great, affordable, nice homes to live in.
Great. And what are some of the biggest challenges other than trying to coordinate 4 kids under 10 on a plane? But what are some of the biggest challenges for you running your business?
Really nothing. Completely honest, and it sounds kind of arrogant to say that, but what's amazing, like I said, this is the easiest business I've ever ran. I've had so many other businesses that have overhead of employees and it's just so much stuff that I literally work 1 hour a month, and that's just looking over the statements, making sure all the numbers line up. I could even pay an accountant to do that. I don't even do that, but it only takes an hour, so I do it myself. So I honestly do not have any headaches, and I say praise the Lord because I'm just blessed to be able to say that, because it could be very, very bad. But when I first started my business, I was doing everything wrong. Now I've worked out everything through the school of hard knocks. I figured out how to make sure my business runs well. At first, my business didn't run well because I didn't know how to run it. Even though I had other people doing the work, it still was not good. But because I set up systems, because I have the right people, because I have the business set up properly, it runs so smoothly. And that just took time and learning.
And what are some of those key systems that you've set up to help you run so smoothly?
The biggest thing that you can do if you are running a business where you have rental properties is to run it like a business. And what a lot of people do, a lot of my students, I even fell into the trap of this. Your first property you're going to buy, you're going to think, man, this is my home. Like, even though you have your own home you're living in, possibly, this is my home. This is my property. I want them to take care of it. I want it to be the nicest place in the block. I want to, you take pride in it, which of course you absolutely should. But me, after going through that and not running it like a business, not evicting people when they need to be evicted, not screening tenants properly, basically not running it like a business, I've lost tens of thousands of dollars because of lost rents or fixing up a property where I didn't need to. So the biggest system that I put in place was running it like a business and telling my property manager exactly how I want them to run the business. So they'll have suggestions like say, okay, well, we collect the money on the 1st, we evict on the 15th, and there's steps in the middle there. Well, this is what I tell them. We collect money on the 1st, it's late after the 3rd, and then if it's late, we put a 3-day notice. This is the way most states are in California, in America, you have to put in a 3-day notice. And then as soon as that 3-day notice is up, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We start the eviction process. Now, if they've been in the property 2 years, I'll be a little lenient. If they've only been there for 3 months, absolutely start the eviction and go through with it. So it's setting up the expectations for your property manager beforehand to know exactly how to proceed and not deviate from that, what your plan is for your properties.
Great. Well, before we go into the next section, I would like to mention our YouTube channel called Build, Live, Give. You get great tips to help corporate escapees, just like Dustin, to rapidly grow. So please subscribe and share, and also stay right to the end of the podcast because I'll give you a summary of my 3 key takeouts from Dustin's interview today. So Dustin, we'll move now into the live section. What are some daily habits that help you be successful given the fact that you work 1 hour a month?
I need to exercise like 5 days a week. So number one, I need to have a hobby, and my hobby is actually exercising. I love doing Olympic lifting. Olympic lifting would be like the clean and jerk and the snatch, the things where you pull, big heavy weights over your head and things like that. So I do that 5 days a week. I like to run. I like to exercise. But a big thing is I like to spend time with my family. Like, I absolutely love my family, and I make sure that I spend loads and loads of time. Now, if I wanted to, I could literally go fishing every day, or I could just, watch TV, play video games, or do whatever I want. But I'm not like that. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm constantly growing. Plus, I'm blessed to have this life. So what I do every day now is I continue to build my business, my coaching, my online courses, my podcast, and my articles, and my books. I build that up because, number one, I love helping people. And number two, it keeps my mind active. Like, I am able to put my creative business mind working and continue to, provide for my family. But every bit of money that I get from my books or anything goes right into real estate because that's where I make my money.
And before you mention your wife, Melissa, she's listening right now. What would you like to say to her about the support she's given you through this transition?
I would absolutely say it would be pointless for all of this if it wasn't for her. And all this is for her and for the kids. I'm so blessed to have such an amazing wife. And what's great is a long time ago when we first got married, actually about 3 or 4 years after we got married, it was a little rough because marriage is rough. And I was always, in my mind, I had a thought, there are so many bad things about my marriage. Like, my wife is this and my wife is that. And then somebody challenged me and said, why don't you write down all the bad things that you think of your wife? And I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, I get to do this. So I started writing down, I get one. I'm like, the first one came out good. Then the second came out pretty quick. And the third one was like, I had to think about it. And then I wrote it down. Okay, there's a third one. By the time I got to my fourth one, I had to really force it out. So I had 4 things. But then the person said, now, what are some good things about your wife? And I just listed at least 20 amazing things about my wife. So I was focusing on the bad things and not focusing on the good things. So the challenge after that was, now take up that list of all that bad things, just the 3 or 4 bad things, force yourself to forget them, tear it up, burn it, or throw it away so that you don't remember that anymore. And that has been the biggest tip for me because my wife is absolutely amazing. She blesses me so much. She even homeschools the kids. Like, they don't go to government school, they go to homeschool, or they homeschool here. And so she does all that work. She takes care of me. So she's fantastic. And she's been a huge support throughout all this. I wouldn't be here without her.
Brendan, you talk about, your 4 children and the travel. Are there other things you've been fortunate enough to do now, the fact that you don't work back in corporate?
We travel so much, like I said. We travel, we do fun things together. This year, we're going to go to Washington, D.C. for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks and since we homeschool, what better homeschooling history lessons than actually be in Washington, D.C., where there's all this history. So we travel a lot. I play games with them. I coach their little league games like as much as I can, as long as it's not conflicting with the other kids' schedule. I coach so I basically spend as much time with them. I take them fishing, I take them hunting, play sports with them. So I literally do as much as I can with them.
Great. Well, look, the next section's the give section. So what's a community or a charity that you're passionate about and why?
So I'm very passionate about not just religion in general, but my God. I believe in the Bible. I believe in Jesus Christ. And so I read the Bible every single day. So I'm absolutely passionate about telling people that there is a heaven and that there is a hell, and God wants you to be in heaven with him, or his desires for you. And then so with that, I fully devote my time to serving in the church as much as I can. I love helping other people, just like with my business, but I love serving in the church any if, ands, or ways that I can. But there are other ministries that I'm a part of. Like I really, America, we're blessed to have the ability to hunt and have firearms. And so I volunteer with people trying to help them to learn how to hunt and, take hunter safety courses and be safe with all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess things that I'm passionate about, that's where I love to serve.
Excellent. Well, the last section is the action section. So what I'll do is give you some questions, and if you can give me some quick rapid fire responses. So the first one is, what are your top 3 productivity tips?
So being a property manager or a property owner, I love cozy.co. It's an online software. It's absolutely free, and they make their money through background checks that the tenants pay for. But it's a property management system that is fantastic, that works out so well. So I use cozy.co. And another one that's all of my property management stuff. Another one that is great for me is I use Evernote all the time. Evernote's an app that basically runs on your phone, put it on your desktop computer. You write a note, it stays there. You can go back and search for it. I love that. But here's another one that I think it gets to be kind of like thought of as old fashioned, but email. I absolutely love email, as well as I use my email now. Gmail just came up with a feature that's fantastic. It's called a snooze button. So I use my email as a to-do list. And so if an email comes in and I need to do it, but it doesn't need to, I do with things that are most important. So I snooze it for the next day if it's not important. I take care of the ones that are really important. I even send myself email, like, do this, and it's to myself, and I can, it's a to-do list. So I use my email heavily, like all the time.
Great. Well, other than your own podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast, I'll get my teeth back in. What are some other podcasts that you love to listen to?
I really love to listen to Albert Mohler. He has a podcast called The Briefing, talks about daily things going on. Really, really enjoy that. I also like Lifestyle Builders podcast. Is actually friends of mine that I met them, but their podcast is really good. And what they talk all about is basically building a business that revolves around your life. Like, figure life first and then build the business around that. But then also, what's fun is I have a podcast with my brother. So I moved from California to Phoenix. We started a podcast where we talk about movies. So I do that as well. But those are my three favorite podcasts.
Brilliant. And what the last question is, what impact do you want to leave on the world?
I want to leave the world basically knowing, ultimately for me, what it all comes down to is the statistic is 100% of the people die. Like, we will all die. Even though I have plenty of money, I'm going to leave a legacy for my kids, but I can't take a penny or anything with me, that there is a heaven. And then I read the Bible every day. And if anybody wants to know how to get into heaven, it's in the Bible. It's my opinion, as I've read the Bible. So that's the lasting impact. Is I love telling people that God wants them to be in heaven as long as they read the Bible and understand it.
Excellent. Well, look, it's been brilliant having you on, Dustin, and thanks for sharing lots of wisdom today. Dustin has kindly given us a free course. So if you go to masterpassiveincome.com ep121.com/free course. You'll be able to get that. And also we'll have all the links to some of the things that Dustin has mentioned, including, the 27 ways to, or the 22 principles, I should say, to make great money in real estate. But brilliant having you on, Dustin. And thanks for sharing so much wisdom today.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate it.
That was a great interview with Dustin, full of energy, great ideas. So my 3 key takeouts. So one is fit your business around your lifestyle, not the other way around. And I think for Dustin, it's travel. He makes sure that he travels with his 4 kids and Melissa, and he fits his business around that. The second is that 90% of millionaires from Dale Carnegie are investors in real estate. So what are you doing in this space? And, Dustin's got some brilliant resources for that. And the last one was set rules and apply them, treat it as a business. I think he gave a great example there of making a line in the sand and then sticking to it. So I'd love to hear what you got out of this podcast. It was a little bit different to some of the others that we've had, a slightly different story, but a great one at that. So just email me at paul@buildlivegive.com. If you know some of the benefit from this podcast, please share it with them so we can really make a difference to fellow corporate escapees. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Corporate Escapees podcast, brought to you by Build, Live, Give. If you would like to join a community of like-minded peers, please visit www.buildlivegive.com. Until next time, thanks for listening and be brave.